Coming up on tonight's UAP News Show, SKYWATCHER update, facts versus speculation, and UAP hearings officially announced, witnesses revealed. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. I am stoked to get started, so without further ado, let's dive right in. Up first, SKYWATCHER update, facts versus speculation. Big news in the UAP community. SKYWATCHER, a coalition of experts, analysts, and innovators, just experienced a major shakeup. For those of you who don't know, SKYWATCHER has been redefining how we observe, analyze, and understand aerial activity. Their approach is disciplined and data-driven, integrating multi-domain sensing, aerospace research, and real-world operational expertise to separate fact from fiction. This commitment to rigorous validation and transparency has made SKYWATCHER a respected voice in the field, expanding our technical understanding of aerial phenomena and turning anomalies into scientifically grounded intelligence. But now their founder and consultant, James Fowler, has announced his departure. And as you can imagine, the internet wasted no time lighting up that rumor mill. Tonight, we're breaking it all down, what happened, what people are saying, and what this could mean for the future of SKYWATCHER. All right, let's start with the post that set this whole thing in motion back on August 18th. James Fowler, founder and consultant of SKYWATCHER, took to X with a big announcement about his departure. Here's what he had to say. Steering towards new horizons. From August 2024 to July 2025, I had the opportunity to serve as the founder and consultant at SKYWATCHER, where I led field operations supporting the missions of exploring unidentified aerial phenomena and advancing air domain awareness. I am stepping away from active involvement with SKYWATCHER, with my contributions now limited to my foundational work. I am excited to focus on a new venture in aerial intelligence, dedicated to building innovative technology to address complex challenges in this field. I remain proud of my foundational contributions at SKYWATCHER and wish the team continued success in their future endeavors. And then he tags SKYWATCHER headquarters, Jake Barber, and Gary Nolan. All right, big moves right there. When the founder steps away, it sends shockwaves, especially in a field as niche and high stakes as this one. Of course, the organization itself wasn't going to stay silent. Not long after Fowler's post, SKYWATCHER released their own statement. Here's their official response. The SKYWATCHER team is excited to congratulate James Fowler on his new venture contracting with the U.S. government, and we sincerely thank him for his contributions to SKYWATCHER. He has played a key in all of our field operations and in the data we have collected to date. All right, interesting response, right? Measured, professional, and encouraging. Love to see that support. They clearly want to keep the focus on the mission while wishing Fowler a farewell. But things got even more interesting when Dr. Gary Nolan jumped into the conversation, also weighing in on Fowler's announcement. He said, I'd like to wish James Fowler much success in his new GovCon endeavor and personally thank him for his efforts to support SKYWATCHER over these past 9 months. The team at SKYWATCHER is excited about moving into the next phase of our discovery framework and beginning the analytic process of scientifically evaluating the data collected from our field operations over the past 6 months. We have a vast amount of data to parse through and then analyze. I've worked with big data for my last 2 decades in the bioscience space. We could collect the data in a few days and then spend the next 6 months analyzing it. The scientific process will not be rushed, so please be patient as we are doing this for the good of the community and want to do it the right way. Once we have a clear understanding of the data significance, it will be compiled into a report and, if possible, developed into a paper for peer review. That's the stage at which I would personally like to see the paper put on one of the ARXIV servers. All right, classic Nolan, cutting right to the heart of the matter and not mincing words. And interestingly enough, Dr. Gary Nolan was actually recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they spoke about this. Rogan actually brought up Fowler asking what the confusion was all about and kind of giving his understanding of it, but asking for clarification. And let's take a look at what Gary had to say.
It's inevitable. So SKYWATCHER, as an example, you probably know the SKYWATCHER group.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And Jake Barber.
Didn't they just stop operations? Did something happen?
No, it's strange because people said, "Oh, we stopped." No, actually, it had been determined from the beginning that we were going to go from January until July or August and collect data, and now we're in the what does the data mean phase, where we're literally going through the data, looking at the data files and trying to as I said before, we're filtering the data, we're looking for the obvious mistakes, et cetera. And so, no, they've not stopped.
Yeah, there was something on Twitter about something about equipment I forget.
No, so James Fowler, one of the guys who brought a lot of his equipment and technology to us, decided that he wanted to basically go off and work in a DoD capacity as opposed to the research capacity. But he's still advising us. I was just on a a Zoom call with him last week going over the data files.
So explain this SKYWATCHER thing to people, because it sounds insane.
Well, the idea behind it was that there might be ways to send a signal and get things to show up. And James Fowler claimed that he had such a thing. I was at one of the events where something showed up. It was transient, momentary, but indisputable. But it's just like,
what did it look like?
It was just a silver ball moving quickly through several frames of a video, which was not fast enough, frankly, to pick it up. We just saw it move. It went that way, and
you
then
didn't see it with your naked eye.
No, I didn't see it with the naked eye. Which, of course, is a problem.
Do they sometimes see things with the naked eye?
One guy did, yeah.
One guy.
Oh, I mean.
So are these things variable in their appearance?
I wish I had I don't have my phone here. But we do have a picture of one next to the helicopter, about 200 feet away, and it's just kind of a fuzzy white blob against a blue sky. But it was there, and it's not a cloud, and it's not a balloon. Mm-hmm. It's not discernible as anything obvious, but it was there, and it happened during one of these events out in the middle of the desert. Mm-hmm. And so, so the idea is behind SKYWATCHER is to see if there are ways to get them to show up, and if so, in a reproducible manner, and then have the right kind of simultaneous multi-sensor capabilities to measure it, meaning radar, IR, visual, people on the ground.
What are they sending to get these things to go? What signal?
James has a signal that unfortunately he won't. I don't know what it is.
He won't let everybody know what the bat signal is.
Well,
to
I mean,
UFOs?
Maybe.
But isn't there a group of people that just go out and they just using their mind, they meditate,
yeah.
And supposedly they have some success as well.
Yeah, there's the CE5 groups that do that, and I've never participated in any of that because I don't know how to measure it. I'm more than willing to believe that there are technologies capable of measuring thoughts at a distance that might be some super advanced. I don't believe that you have to call it telepathy and magic. I think that there's, if such a thing happens, that there is a technology that might be able to read at a distance.
Right. Well,
I have no problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either. I don't have a problem with the idea that consciousness is kind of vaguely and barely understood, and whatever our relationship to the universe itself and reality itself through consciousness is, it's not fully defined, and also it might evolve just like all of our other intellectual capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there you have it. Straight talk from Nolan himself. His take really adds another layer to the SKYWATCHER shakeup and adds much needed clarity to what's going on behind the scenes. He basically let us know, rumors schmoomers, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what's happening. Everybody needs to chill out. All right, now the story wouldn't be complete without Ross Coulthart weighing in. The UAP Reporting Center highlighted some of his commentary in this next tweet that says, Ross Coulthart reports Jake Barber's SKYWATCHERs have suspended all field operations after a member abruptly pulled high-tech gear for unknown reasons. More to come, ... And let's be honest, when Ross talks, people listen. He even tackled this topic on his News Nation reality check question and answer show. Let's roll the clip.
Jay on X. This is our most popular question that we did receive today. James Fowler is moving on from SKYWATCHER. What do you think this means, and how does it affect their mission?
James is a really good guy. He's the guy who provided a lot of the, how does one say, the sensor technology, the radar systems, the camera systems, the technology that essentially allowed the SKYWATCHER team to detect objects as they were being allegedly summoned by either the psionics or the dog whistle. I made a note of what James has said about his departure from SKYWATCHER. He said that from August 24 to July 25, he had the opportunity to serve as a founder and consultant at SKYWATCHER, where he led field operations supporting the mission of exploring UAPs and advancing air domain awareness. He's announced, "I am stepping away from active involvement with SKYWATCHER, with my contributions now limited to my foundational work. I'm excited to focus on a new venture in aerial intelligence dedicated to building innovative technology to address complex challenges in this field. I remain proud of my foundational contributions at SKYWATCHER and wish the team continued success in their future endeavours." Now, look, if there is any bad blood between SKYWATCHER and James, which I know a lot of people are speculating about online, James is certainly not entertaining it. Basically, he's very quickly rebuffed people who've speculated on Twitter that there is any issue between him and SKYWATCHER. I wasn't aware, frankly, that he was going to be leaving so soon. It came as a surprise to me, and I get the impression from SKYWATCHER, they've put out a statement today, as of this past July, our team completed its initial round of field operations, during which data was captured for 7 to 10 days each month, beginning in January. We now hold more than 10 terabytes of data and have assembled an external team of analysts who've begun their work. We are working with world-class independent scientists, physicists and radar specialists to evaluate the data in accordance with our discovery framework. In short, we have now entered our analysis phase. We're pursuing this work scientifically and rigorously, and we will share our findings as soon as they are available. The entire team is moving as quickly as possible. We'll have more updates to share soon. And as usual, there's some sour old bastard from the debunker community going, "You are also full of shit," and have brought zero credible data to the table. What a miserable bastard. I actually think SKYWATCHER's done very well. They're an organisation that have pushed the needle on UAP disclosure. They've obtained data, which is, I think, really exciting. Yes, of course, we would have loved something more than the quality of footage that they've obtained to date. But remember, we haven't seen all of SKYWATCHER's footage. I'm told there's much more there that hasn't been publicly released. I can't blame Alex Clokas and his equity backers from holding back on exactly what they've obtained. Alex is the private equity Wall Street financier who's funded a lot of the SKYWATCHER project in collaboration with a group of high net worth individuals, and good on them for putting their cash where their ideas are. It's a fantastic initiative. I had heard a rumour that SKYWATCHER was looking at psionics, and I think there might have even been a statement from somebody in SKYWATCHER that their next phase was to look at psionics. So it did come as a surprise to me and other people that they were stopping their field operations. So frankly, if there is any bad blood between James Fowler and the rest of the SKYWATCHER team, I know he and Jake Barber are still very good mates, very good friends, so I know there's no issue there. If there is any issue, he's certainly not letting on about it. And I think all of us would wish James the very best, and many thanks for the great work that he's done. There are some miserable sods out there who complain about the quality of the videos and complain about SKYWATCHER's level of transparency. Well, look, frankly, you're just going to have to get over it. They're a private organisation. They can do whatever the hell they like. Anyone who's doing any kind of private research isn't under any obligation to tell you anything. I think if you were more polite outside there in UAP social media and more respectful of the fact that people are putting their own money up to do their own research and stopped your whinging, then maybe you might actually get more information. There's a really nasty troll backlash right now, a lot of which I suspect is being driven by a particular disinformation unit in South Carolina run by the US intelligence community. And they are so consistently using, hilariously, Twitter accounts that all started in October or November of 2024. They're running these regular whinging campaigns, trying to undermine the credibility of organizations like SKYWATCHER. And frankly, it's not working, guys. The public isn't buying it. Everybody's very, very excited by what SKYWATCHER has achieved. We wish James Fowler the best. I know Jake and Alex are continuing with some more interesting research, and I hope and pray that at some stage Alex might see his way to coming on the show here and talking to us in great detail about what SKYWATCHER has achieved and what it hopes to achieve in the future. Open invitation there, Alex. It would be lovely to have you on board. I'm actually not privy. I've been hoping that at some stage a media organisation like myself might be invited to come out in the field with the SKYWATCHER team while they were doing their observations and particularly their psionic summonings. That's not happened, and it looks like, from what the announcement today is indicating, it looks like they're discontinuing any more field operations now that James is withdrawing his equipment from the field, which is a great pity. I would have loved to have seen much more technology being used. For example, at one stage, I know there was talk of a NASA collaboration where NASA was going to bring a very high-quality camera in to allow much more high-resolution observation of objects. So I think, to be realistic, this has happened as something of a surprise to a lot of people, myself included. I wasn't aware until very recently that James was departing SKYWATCHER, and I think we all wish him the very, very best and hope he gets some lucrative contracts from the Defense Department. Hopefully he's finding lots and lots of UAPs.
Sharp as ever. Amen to that. Ross does not mince words. He says what he means, and he means what he says. And of course, as you can imagine, the UFO community did the most and took this kind of information where Fowler was leaving, and they ran with it. They basically had all kinds of ideas and theories about what was happening to SKYWATCHER, why they're not in the field anymore, if they just completely fell apart and fizzled out or what. But we'll go into how each thing unfolded as it unfolded. All right. Meanwhile, Dr. Beatrice Villarroel decided to flex a little bit on X, posting about a recent hangout with Jake Barber and Dennis Asberg, a Swedish-US mashup of heavy hitters in the UAP world. Let's take a look at what that tweet says. It's been such a special and lovely week. Friendship is one of life's greatest gifts. And then she tags Dennis Asberg and Jake Barber and says, don't miss our small roundtable discussion coming soon. All right, let's take a look at those pictures. Looks like these three are buddy-buddy, super chummy, getting along great, having great conversations. And I mean, I just think this is super cute. I love when people do this kind of stuff, so I'm here for it. All right, and then next up, Jake Barber gives a signal boost to our friend Pavel over at the Psychoactivo podcast, who dropped a solid breakdown of the SKYWATCHER story. Shout out Pavel at Psychoactivo podcast. That retweet from Jake Barber says, Jake Barber opens up about the 8-gon UFO with Dr. Villarroel and Dennis Asberg. And that's basically Pavel showing the video that he made about that. And I think it's pretty freaking cool that Jake Barber retweeted Pavel's tweet. I'm just saying that's pretty cool. All right. And then, of course, Pavel replied by saying, whoa, thanks for sharing, Jake. All right. We've got a clip. Let's check that out.
A bunch of pictures that Mr. Dennis Asberg and Dr. Beatrice Villarroel shared on their social media. And surprise, surprise, Jake Barber was with them.
Allihopa, nu är jag tillbaka här med fantastiska människor runt omkring mig. Och vem har jag här? Jag har Beatrice Villarroel. Och vad är Beatrice? Astronom och befinner oss i Stockholm. Fantastiskt väder, underbart. Som ni ser fartyget här bakom. Vi ska inte åka med. Men sen har jag en kille här som är fantastisk. Jag har lärt känna han väldigt mycket nu i de här dagarna. Och vem har jag här då? Jake?
Jake Barber. Yeah.
And who is Jake?
And I have no idea what they just said because I only speak English, but I'm sure it was very flattering and a proper introduction. But yeah, I'm Jake Barber from the United States of America. Been involved with the SKYWATCHER Corporation, where we are exploring UAP in the United States and elsewhere. and I'm here in Sweden to meet with these other two explorers who have been looking at very interesting things that have inspired me as well. And so we wanted to get together in this beautiful place and have some coffee and tea and some desserts and talk about the journey we've all been on individually. And I think we have a lot in common that we can only offer each other that few can sympathize with. So we're having a lot of fun.
And lots of secrets we hold.
And sharing secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God, what we learned about the universe today.
so we're gonna do a podcast interview, yes, tomorrow, hopefully, if everything's turned well with the time and everything. So tomorrow we're gonna record it, and perhaps next week or 2 weeks it's gonna be out on Dennis World. Thanks for watching, and thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Ciao.
All right, I hope you loved that clip as much as I did. I love to see Pavel's energy. He always makes really good points, always talks about things that are super relevant, and I'm glad to see that his work and his content is resonating with so many people. And to keep this ball rolling, Dennis Asberg chimed in with a tweet teasing a clip from his podcast called Dennis World, featuring himself, Dr. Via Roel, and Jake Barber all having a great conversation. Let's take a look at that tweet that says, teaser, we are presenting Jake for a Scandinavian and Swedish audience that has not yet had the chance to be introduced to Jake Barber, one of the most fascinating UFO whistleblowers that has worked with retrieving crashed UFOs. And then he tags Jake Barber and Dr. Via Roel. So I really think that it's cool that Dennis is bringing Jake Barber to a new audience, and that Dr. Beatrice Via Roel is there to help them do all of that too. If you want to check out that clip, let's take a look at this.
And the egg was a unique experience because it was a highly sensitive operation that turned out to be a crash retrieval of a non-human craft, and that was the egg, which literally looked like an egg, like a chicken egg, except it was shiny. And it was on the ground when I got there. So my primary role in crash retrievals is that of a helicopter pilot. So I was operating a helicopter that night when I got dispatched to retrieve the egg with a long line system and a remote hook, as we call it. It's usually a 150 foot to 200 foot long line that hangs below the aircraft. And I flew in that night with that long line system and came over the hill and saw a shiny, like metallic white egg on the ground, and hooked it up and flew it to another secure location where it was offloaded. And that experience was something that stuck with me.
Is it dangerous to go close to it?
Is it dangerous? Well, there are records within the crash retrieval program of there being side effects or medical conditions associated with those who have recovered craft from the ground or even in the air. I'm one of those myself. And this gets confused a lot in the public that has seen some of my podcasts or some of the coverage of some of the conversations I've had like this. You know, there were two objects that I am talking about publicly. One is the egg. The other is what we call was an 8-gon, or it's basically a flying disc with 8 delineated sections. You know, when viewed from above, it looked like a craft, a flying saucer, but it wasn't smooth. It had 8 sections. It was very dark. And by the time I was over the object, flying, trying to lift it off the ground, I was in tears. I didn't know if I thought maybe someone had drugged me, or I was having an emotional breakdown of some kind from just stress, cortisol. And it took everything I got to fly and pick this load up and fly away. I slowly kind of exposed my family to this idea, to this worldview over time. We've always held that in our household, like especially with my children. I've talked about it that way. And so I think they're oriented, at least within my household and my circle of friends, they are oriented towards this becoming a reality, but they didn't know the extent to which I was involved. And so, especially within my immediate family, they didn't want me to come forward. And it took a long time. Like Ross and I were working together for over 2 years before I came out. And at first I was like, there's no way, but I wanted to find a way to help because of friends like David Grush, who had stuck his neck out and was out there on a limb, and he wasn't getting much support. And so I wanted to find a way forward for him. And I just had to assure my family that I didn't have a choice, that I had an obligation, and that I'd done my best to ensure that it was going to be okay for us. There was the surprise and the embarrassment because I knew there was going to be backlash. And it's tough on your kids too, because your face is going to become known and they're going to be, oh, there's that guy that I saw on YouTube. And most of my life was spent very private and very secretive. And there's no benefit for us, for my family, for being known. Like we have worked really hard and have become very stable financially, very stable socially. And there was only the possibility for loss in this. It was an act of service, and it was something that I knew I had a piece of the puzzle, and that puzzle needed to be completed because I was leaving other good Americans hanging out there that had come forward.
Okay.
And so I focused on that while in the short term, my family may be very angry at me, in the long term, they would be proud of what I did, that I came forward and I did the right thing. And especially for my teenage daughter, it was really rough. But when I knew that when she grew older, that I'd hoped that she would look back and understand that it was a moral obligation and that it was an act of virtue and bravery that motivated me to come out. Yeah.
Great stuff. It's not every day you hear those three minds bouncing ideas off of each other. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. And that's just a small little piece of the conversation. If you want to check out the full video, a link to it can be found in the video description box below, so make sure to check that out. Finally, Jake Barber himself tried to clear the air with a clarifying post, laying out where SKYWATCHER really stands after all the speculation and rumors. Here's what he had to say. Hello, folks. I am pleased to provide an update. SKYWATCHER is here, doing our thing. As you may have read/heard via a number of sources, including our official SKYWATCHER account, we have completed our first round of contracted field operations and have collected nearly 10 terabytes of data. We are now having that data processed and assessed in accordance with the independent verification and peer review outlined in our discovery framework. This process takes time and is crucial to informing future field operations. We have had successes with both psionics and the dog whistle, which is neuromeditative interaction and electromechanical signaling, and consider this data to be some of the best evidence gathered by a private entities on UAP. During this review phase, we aim not only to assess what we have gathered so far, but find ways to improve on the quality and diversity of data we gather, as well as innovative experiments to run. This will require collaboration with a number of third parties who hold the right credentials and authorities to help us dig deeper, expanding our team to include other individuals and entities with key talents, interests, and responsibilities related to the subject. Exciting times. Lastly, I think I could speak on behalf of all of us here that this work is the most exciting thing any of us has done. But SKYWATCHER is not a full-time job for any of us. We all spend the majority of our professional time doing a variety of things that pay the bills and further our careers, and this new industry developing in UAP studies, aerial intelligence, and C-UAS is full of hope and opportunities for us as working professionals with a unique skill set and background. It is a blessing to have an industry forming that needs our niche individual goods and services. Going to work at Home Depot is not really an option. No offense to Home Depot, it's one of my favorite stores. Ultimately, all of our individual ventures outside of SKYWATCHER allow us to bring more to the table for the SKYWATCHER mission. We all look forward to getting back to it. The adventure continues. Boom, nearly 10 terabytes of data already collected. That's no small feat. Whether whatever you think about all the drama that happened, all the speculation about what was really going on, we just got clarity and the science is clearly moving forward. I'm so glad to hear that. All right, so do you think James Fowler stepping away weakens SKYWATCHER, or will the team thrive without him? Those collabs we just saw, Beatrice, Dennis, and Jake, do you think this kind of international cooperation is the future of UAP research? And what do you think SKYWATCHER will uncover when they review the 10 terabytes of data that they've already collected? Sound off in the comment section below and let us know. Up next, UAP hearings officially announced, witnesses revealed. History is about to unfold in Washington, D.C. The long-anticipated UAP hearings have now officially been announced for September 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And before, we previously thought that it might be happening at 4 p.m., but it's happening at 10 a.m. For the first time, we have a confirmed list of 4 key witnesses, including veterans, journalists, and firsthand UAP witnesses who will step forward to testify on the mysterious aerial phenomena that have captivated the world. This could be the moment that finally shines a light on what has been hidden and lied about and stigmatized for decades. At the same time, Representative Tim Burchett has introduced H.R. 5060, groundbreaking new legislation to protect federal personnel who disclose how taxpayer money is being used to evaluate UAP material. While the hearings and the bill are separate events, they are deeply connected. One is about revealing the truth, and the other is about protecting those brave enough to tell it. Together, they mark a pivotal turning point for whistleblower protection, government transparency, and restoring the public's trust in the investigation of UAPs. In this story, we'll walk you through everything that you need to know: the official witness lineup, why whistleblower protection is more important than ever, and what these combined efforts could mean for UAP transparency moving forward. To kick us off, first we'll look at a tweet from Dr. Michael Salla highlighting how Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet points out the complications of NDAs in the UAP world. It says, Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet explains standard non-disclosure agreements concerning classified programs which describe jail time for the unauthorized release of program secrets. I have heard from some whistleblowers, Phil Schneider, Derek Hennessy, etc., that for the most sensitive UFO-related programs, the NDAs refer to termination with extreme prejudice for unauthorized disclosures. Whistleblowers have been killed to preserve UFO secrecy. Full stop. And then in reply, Tim Blake says, they've been murdering whistleblowers for decades. Okay, oof. That is not a joke. That's really, really serious. Let's take a look at that embedded video now.
I knew people who touched the legacy program. I know them, and many of them are out already. Eric Davis, Hal Putoff, Jay Stratton was not in the legacy program, but he led the UAP task force. So he's seen a ton of UAP information that's not been declassified. And I trust him. Lou Elizondo, I trust him too. So these have all been in the mix, Carl Nell, and we're all saying the same thing. There's a lot of information that's being withheld from the public. Some of it should be released, and the full story.
And what's stopping all this from being released? Like what?
It's the classification issue. Is we're too afraid.
What are people scared of?
Well, it's the government not really thinking it's good policy to say we can't protect our citizens, our airspace, our water space. That's a tough one to overcome.
Sure, I understand that.
And I'm not sure how they resolve that myself. Again, I'm here from the standpoint that the American people, or government by the people, for the people, that they deserve to know the nature of reality. And the government knows it. They should disclose some of that to our taxpayers.
And what is to stop like any of these people who have this top secret information, like from just coming out and saying it? Like what? Like other than losing your career,
jail time.
You could go to jail.
Oh yeah, these are all.
But wouldn't that just confirm it? If I came out tomorrow and I was part of some like deep access program.
What we're talking about is, and I've signed these myself. You get read into a program, and you have a non-disclosure form that says, I acknowledge that if I divulge any of the information in this program, and it's a prerequisite before getting into the program. So you might not even know you're getting read into a UAP program. It might be, hey, we want to have you know about this because of your responsibilities, and we think you have a need to know. So first, before you get read in, sign this. And it says, I won't do anything, or I can go to jail.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, yes.
But the problem with that is in the public's eye, if you do come out and say some crazy stuff that I'm claiming this is true, and then you get thrown into jail, people are going to say, oh my God, it's true. They threw him in jail.
Yeah.
If it was bullshit, why would they put him in jail?
Well, so the good thing here is these, I don't know if they've been passed yet, but maybe I know that Burchett has introduced some whistleblower protection legislation to get around that.
All right, so as you could tell from that clip, understanding these legal boundaries shows why legislation like HR 5060 is critical to safely allow disclosure of UAP information. Without people being protected, they're not going to want to come forward. I mean, look at what has already happened to people like David Grush, just saying. And a comment that I'd like to share about that Sala tweet comes from someone who wishes to remain anonymous. Here's what they have to say. Quote, whistleblowers have been killed to preserve UFO secrecy, end quote. Not hearsay. Grush testified under oath to this fact. Shame on Congress for doing fuck all about that, or the IG complaints requiring urgent response. More firsthand testimony just provides more targets. If Congress isn't going to act on the information it already has, then move on and quit putting these people out there to dangle. And then there's that gif from Game of Thrones where the lady's walking down the thing and she's like, shame, 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 ringing the bell. Okay, anyways, aside from the Game of Thrones reference, I wanted to highlight this point because, I mean, people literally have been killed over this whole entire thing. And Congress has had a lot of information that they haven't done anything with. I mean, look at all that information that Grush gave them that they still haven't really like dug into or gave us any new information about. And I mean, it just really, really proves that people that may have information that want to be coming forward are not really going to do it if this is the climate that they're walking into. Why would they risk their lives, risk their families, risk their careers, risk their reputations to come out with this kind of information just to be met with ridicule and defamation of character and assassination attempts possibly? I mean, you know, it's all on the table at this point. So yeah, I don't know. Whistleblower protection is super duper important. Okay, but to keep this ball rolling, a tweet from UAP James says, Representative Tim Burchett has introduced whistleblower legislation to protect federal personnel for disclosing the use of taxpayer money to evaluate UAP material. HR 5060 is co-sponsored by Rep. Anna Paulina Luna. All right, and the link to that document is in the video description box below if you would like to check it out for yourself. This is a major step forward, in my opinion. Whistleblowers can now feel safer stepping forward to reveal the truth. I'm hoping that this HR 5060 goes through and really does something. Like, I really hope that it makes a difference. I really hope that it is a game changer in regards to the amount of protection that whistleblowers have. Okay, next we'd like to highlight all of the important information presented in the long-awaited official announcement from .gov about these UAP hearings. Here come the who, what, where, and when, but not in that order because that's not how they presented it, and I'm going to present it to you like they presented it to us, so we're going to switch that order up a little bit. Okay, starting with the what. These hearings are being called Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. The when is September 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pretty early in the morning. All right, the where. If you plan on being there in person, it'll be in room HVC 210. Or if you plan on watching the event via live stream, that link can be found in the video description box below. Make sure to click notify me so you don't miss a thing. Also, aside from that exact link from them, there are going to be other content creators covering this live stream. I know Patrick from Vetted is definitely covering it. So there's probably other places with people in the community that you can go and watch it. Okay, so now comes the fun part, the witnesses, the people that we are going to hear from, the ones that are gonna spill the tea. Okay, let's go through these people one by one. All right, first on the list is Jeffrey Nucatelli, U.S. Air Force veteran. To learn more about him, let's watch this clip from Psychoactivo podcast.
So the event occurred October 14th, 2003, 08:45 in the morning is when it was reported. So this was a daylight occurrence. And yeah, what happened, I was stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base. I was a military police officer. So I was assigned to Bravo flight. I was the senior law enforcement patrolman on the flight. And I had come in early, about an hour early, to do shift change with the off-going leadership. And as I drove into our squadron building, there was a crowd of people around our smoke pit, congregating there waiting. And when I drove by, they all started to point, and I could tell that they had something cool to tell me. So these individuals were working on site at LF Launch Facility 21, which is located at the very north end of the base. And one of the contractors walked outside of the hangar, the building he was in, and there was this gigantic red glowing square object bigger than a football field just hovering silently over the pad, making no noise.
No noise at all?
Nothing. Completely silent. No control surfaces, no propulsion. All at once, they all started telling me that they had this real world UFO event that morning. And they briefed me on what had occurred. And those two individuals had actually responded to the event and talked to the witnesses and taken statements from them. So what happened was sometime early that morning, we had 3 Boeing contractors, and these would be like engineers or, technical specialists, all with like top secret SCI clearances, working on a national missile defense project site. And it was a weapon system designed to shoot down incoming nukes and ballistic missiles. So that is an Air Force Form 53. So we keep a chronological record of every single thing that happens in a 24-hour period. That's what this document is. And then at 8:45, this is the entry, patrol response, unidentified flying object. That's how it was logged. They reported what they saw, they described it. The controller at range control took down the information, and then he called all the various other agencies and command centers on base. He called the weather station to find out if we had balloons up. He called the control tower to see if we had aircraft or anything on radar, and on and on. So he called all these various agencies on base. All those reports came back negative. They said nothing on radar, nothing in the air, no weather balloons. During this time period where they were trying to track down what it was, the object had gently floated further onto the installation. So it floated east onto the base, and they lost visual when it went over some hills, and it just vanished.
Okay.
Very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to hear what kind of questions Congress has about that story and what sort of revelations are going to come from it. It's definitely interesting, and I cannot wait to see what he says under oath. All right, next person on the list is Chief Alexandro Wiggins, who is a UAP witness to the Tic Tac event. Let's check out a weaponized clip to learn more about Alex.
So I just want to start with you establishing, what is your name? What is your rank? Are you currently in the military? And why are you coming forward now?
Yeah, absolutely. I am Operations Specialist Senior Chief Alexandro Wiggins. Been in the Navy for 23 years and counting. And I work here in San Diego currently on shore duty. And yeah, my last command was the USS Jackson. That's actually my little going away present right there from the Jackson.
You grew up in Las Vegas. So you've had a chance to see 20 plus years of my UFO stories. I hope I did not twist your mind too much over those years.
No, not at all. Yeah, I grew up in Las Vegas, and I've watched you when your hair was as dark as mine.
So take us back to this night in February of 2023. What's going on? Where are you? How does this first come to your attention?
So that night, it was an evening into the night watch. We were standing, and typical day underway, conducting normal operations off the coast of San Diego. And there was a time that I witnessed on my radar a few contacts popping up. It was northeast on the contact on the radar. The radar's in true, so northeast-ish, looking at the radar, and noticed a few things come in and out. You know, I've been in the Navy for 23 years, so as an operations specialist, so I know the difference between, helicopters and then atmospherics. So things like clouds, rainstorms, things like that. You learn over, the years to differentiate what's what on your radar. So that night, I noticed that I couldn't differentiate what was what at all amongst the things that I just mentioned. So I decided to go out into the bridge wing just to take a look, to see. I didn't think it was that far away. I think, it's nighttime, so light travels. So I figured, let me just poke outside, see what I can see. And to my surprise, which is something I've never witnessed, was a light I noticed on the horizon, but it looked as if it were surfacing out of the water and going up. Now, seeing lights on the horizon, very typical when you're out in the water, but seeing a light on the horizon going into the air is a different story. So witnessing that, I'm not sure of what I'm seeing. What goes through my head, maybe there's a military team that's out there conducting flight operations, and maybe their helos hovering, something like this, but their lights blink. I'm a helo controller, so I know that their lights, their running lights are going to be blinking, red, green, and pulsating. So it's not like it's going to be a solid light, and that's what I witnessed, was a solid light rising from the horizon up.
All right, so far we have a U.S. Air Force veteran witness, and now we have a U.S. Navy witness. Pretty interesting. The third person on the list is a little bit of oddball in terms of the rest are military, and this guy's not, but I'm sure that you will recognize the name. It is George motherfucking Knapp, and no, he is not playing around, okay? He is a UAP journalist, and rather than showing you a recent clip of George, I wanted to give you a throwback clip from November of 1989 from a show called UFOs, The Best Evidence. This is a clip. Sorry about the sound. I cannot fix 1989 sound quality stuff. I'm not that good, but it's definitely worth the listen.
George Knapp joins us now with part one of a cover story series, UFOs, The Best Evidence. George?
Well, Gary and Mary Ruth, some people might object to the use of the words UFOs and evidence in the same sentence. However, there is now a staggering amount of information on this subject, collected not by crackpots, but by respected, mainstream, level-headed people who want to know what, if anything, is going on. What we've tried to do is sift through as much of this information as possible to see if there's anything to it. In part one of UFOs, The Best Evidence, we explore whether the subject has been treated fairly by the establishment. This seeming reluctance by journalism, science, government, and religion to fully explore the possibility of extraterrestrial visits has left the job in the hands of untrained, underfunded private organizations and individuals. Invariably, such private efforts attract people whose minds are already made up and whose approach is far from professional or scientific. Ufology has made important strides in recent years, but when you consider that contact with an alien civilization would surely rank as one of the most significant events in human history, it would seem that a more organized type of study might be warranted. If we know anything about science, it is this: the truth is always changing. What is science fiction today is science tomorrow. For instance, back in the 1800s, the scientific establishment scoffed at persistent reports from peasants and farmers and other country folk about rocks that fell from the sky. It took more than 100 years for the French Academy of Sciences to finally concede that meteorites were real. And just one generation ago, most scientists would have argued that life beyond the Earth is impossible. That is no longer the dominant viewpoint. In the days ahead, we will take you inside the government's own files to examine previously secret studies of the UFO phenomenon. We'll also try to find out if there is any connection between UFOs and the mutilations of cattle and other animals taking place across the West. We will explore what impact an alien landing might have on religion and other social institutions. And we will reveal the identity of this man who says the government has already established contact with aliens and is testing alien technology right here in Nevada.
Now, George, you said that UFO groups have made improvements. Is ufology a real science now?
Well, they call it ufology, but even they will concede it's not really a science. It is making strides. If you take MUFON, for example, the Mutual UFO Network, they restrict their membership only to people who are invited, so you weed out some of the crackpots. Their membership has doubled in the last 2 years. They have 75 PhDs who serve not only as members but consultants. There have been college courses taught on UFOs now on several campuses, and 8 PhDs have been written on the subject. So it's not a science, but it's moving in that direction.
A lot of people aren't going to believe it until they see absolute proof. What would be proof?
Well, we'll be talking about through the course of the week, but if eyewitnesses, millions of eyewitnesses count as proof in other kinds of proceedings. You got photos, you got movie footage, you got video, you've got all kinds of physical manifestations, radiation, landing sites, things of that nature. the totality is what you really have to look at, and of course we'll be taking a look at what constitutes proof through the course of the next several days.
Okay, George. Sounds great.
Forward
Thanks.
part 2. Thank you, George.
Love the blacked out picture of Lazar in that clip. Just saying, Lazar is one of the people that I would have loved to see take the stand this time around, but it's okay. We could table that. There's still more time. But I'm really glad that George Knapp is finally getting to take the stand. I know that Jeremy Corbell is probably super freaking excited about that. And George Knapp has been doing this since I was literally a toddler. So he's got plenty of things to say. And I'm glad that he will be a part of this and in the whole experience with everybody else. All right. And then the last person on the list is the most mysterious. His name is Dylan Borland, who is a UAP witness and a U.S. Air Force veteran. I do not have any video clips for Dylan because he is so mysterious. All we have is a little bit of information about him. Okay, so let's check out this tweet from Neil Goodman News that says, Dylan Borland worked for almost 3 years for the Air Force as a geospatial intelligence analyst, almost 4 years for BAE Systems, which is an aerospace company, as an intelligence analyst, and almost 6 years for Intrepid Solutions and Services, LLC. And to back that up, we have a tweet from That UFO Podcast that says, this may be the background of Mr. Dylan Borland. And then it goes to show his resume. All right, so the stage is set and history is waiting to be made. On September 9th, we'll witness veterans, journalists, and firsthand UAP witnesses step forward to share what they know, potentially revealing truths that have been hidden for decades. And at the same time, HR 5060, introduced by Representative Tim Burchett, shined a spotlight on the importance of protecting whistleblowers, ensuring those brave enough to speak out about taxpayer-funded UAP investigations can do so safely. Together, these events represent a turning point, a chance for transparency, accountability, and the truth to finally take center stage with a spotlight. Make sure you're tuned in because what unfolds could reshape our understanding of UAPs and the brave people who risked everything to tell the world what they've seen and what they know. Do you think whistleblower protections like HR 5060 will encourage more UAP whistleblowers to come forward in the future? Which witnesses out of that list of 4 are you most excited to hear from on September 9th? And what new revelations do you hope will come from these pivotal testimonies? Make sure to go to the Lato Files Discord server and share your thoughts with the community there. An invite link can be found in the video description box below, along with all of the other sources that are in this show in the order that they appear. So please make sure to check that out. Okay, fam, we've got something extra special for you tonight. Over on my channel, I sat down with Frater Eleftheria, the mind behind Lifting the Lamp, a channel dedicated to yoga, magic, tarot, and the hidden side of consciousness. You probably recognize him from back in June when UFO whistleblower Matthew Brown included some of Frater's work on Enochian magic in the cryptic tweet he posted that went viral. In this clip that I'm about to show you, Frater discusses how he found himself at the crossroads of esoteric magic and UFO disclosure. And we went there. How did he feel about being pulled into the UFO conversation? Did he ever have direct contact with Matthew Brown himself? And could rituals like Parsons' infamous Babylon working really have played a role in something as big as Roswell? Here's that clip.
So in April of this year, I evoked Sandalphon, which is an angel from Western esotericism.
Okay.
And I asked it to help my channel be exposed to more people than it was, so that I could help spread the message and all of that sort of thing. And then it was after I did that the whole Matthew Brown thing exploded. So for me, so for me, that was like the angel, making things happen in the world to answer my prayer, basically.
Wow. Well, yeah, that angel definitely did that, because as soon as that Matthew Brown tweet hit the UFO world, like the angel shit hit the fan. I'll just put it like that. I don't know how else to say it. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was trying to figure out what it means, what it was connected to. All this other stuff started coming up. So when Matthew Brown posted your work, how did you feel about suddenly just being sucked into this UFO world? And have you ever had any communications with Matthew Brown, like, about all of this? Have you ever talked to him?
Yeah, so I have had some online communications with him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he's seems like a nice guy and is quite interested in esoteric things as well, as is evidenced in his ex name of Son of Abramelin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite an experience to be pulled into the UAP world like that, because it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I have had some UAP experiences, and I do believe in all that. But it's not like a big interest. It wasn't like a big interest of mine, and
sure.
Yeah, so it was quite surreal, and yeah, how do I even describe it? I mean, yeah, suddenly there was all this interest in Magick and things like that, and how the UAPs related to that. It was quite reality shattering in a way.
I can believe it.
It forced me to rethink some of my assumptions as well.
Oh,
that's awesome that you got that validation.
Yeah, I was thinking about the part where like do you believe the rituals like Parsons Babylon working really played a role in Roswell? So and this is, I guess, referring to the portal you were saying they opened or something with the ritual they were doing. And I've never heard that until I listened to that video. And so, yeah, that's wild. Do you want to speak on that?
Sure. it is wild. And it puts a whole other spin on the flying saucer phenomenon and Roswell and all of that. I think I'm not sure if I'm ready to conclude that it opened up a portal, and that's the reason for the modern UAP phenomenon. That might be giving Jack Parsons too much credit.
Okay.
There are people who believe that, and it might be true, but I think maybe what happened was that ritual created a sort of synchronistic resonance where that stuff could sort of come into the kind of collective conscious a lot more and become more prominent and well known to people. I think that with my own experience of Magick and the kind of effects that it works, that it has, it does work more like that. Like things start to happen in the world that reflect the themes that you symbolically are playing with in a ritual. So I think maybe that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if he actually tore a hole through space-time and something came through. Maybe that did happen, but there's
the timing lines up pretty nicely. Just saying.
What was the point of that? Like them getting together in the Roswell area? I mean, was it anything to do with aliens, or was that something that just happened? I'm trying to figure that part out. Like, what were they doing exactly? What was their intent and goal there?
They were trying to summon a goddess called Babylon, and they wanted her to somehow come into this physical world in order to usher in a new aeon and free people from the kind of old religious structures. That was the reason for Jack Parsons doing that with L. Ron Hubbard. And so he sort of cobbled stuff together. So it wasn't directly related to the UAP.
But
phenomenon.
somehow we got there.
But what Jack Parsons was doing, he cobbled together this ritual because it's something that he made up. But he used some of the Enochian calls, which are like these things that you say, conjurations basically, to enter a certain layer of the heavens to communicate with the angels. And so he was incorporating those into his rituals. So I wonder if that was the thing that invited these entities in And I wonder if it's the same technology going back to the Enochian Magick, which is kind of evolved into some of the techniques for remote viewing that get used by CIA programs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be a connection there between the two things.
Alrighty, guys, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That conversation really opens the door to some wild possibilities. Am I right? Are these just coincidences, or are the threads of magic, rituals, and UFOs somehow deeply intertwined more than we may realize? If you want the full dive into Frater Eleftheria's perspective, make sure to check out that video in its entirety over on my channel called Living Life Consciously with Hello Allie. And while you're there, please make sure to drop a like and leave a comment so we know that you were there. And that concludes this week's UAP Society's UAP News Show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. All right, peeps, much love, peace, and namaste.
The evolution of life on Earth seems to have been profoundly altered by collisions with such bodies. Asteroids.